All right, so we've taken a look at the structure of compounds. Let's see how the structure affects the properties of a compound. And so a molecule gets its properties from its structure. And so if we know the structure, you can predict the properties. And so in our case, for now, we're going to be talking about some relatively simple properties, some melting point, some boiling point, and the solubility of the compounds, right? So these are going to be the properties we're going to focus on for now. And this should be relatively similar to what you focused on in general chemistry. So let's take a look first at the melting and boiling point of compounds, right? So what we're talking about here is phase transitions from solids to liquids, right? That's melting or freezing. And then from liquids to gas, right? That's boiling or condensation. So think about what all of these mean. And remember, when we go from left to right, we increase the amount of energy, right? So to go from a solid to a liquid to a gas, in general, we increase the amount of energy in that system. So in a solid, we have molecules and they are vibrating about a fixed position, right? So these molecules cannot move from one another. Then when we melt them down into liquids, they are allowed to move, right? But they're still touching each other at all times, right? And then finally, when we go into a gas, they're allowed to move kind of wherever, and they essentially have no contact with one another. And so you can see in a solid, there's something keeping the stuff together, all these individual molecules together. In a liquid, that stuff, that force that's keeping them together is still there, but not as strong. And then in a gas, we've destroyed these forces essentially. And so as we go from a solid to a gas, we break apart the forces keeping the molecules together. And these forces that are keeping the molecules together are referred to as intermolecular forces, or IMFs, right? Intermolecular forces, forces in between molecules. And so if we have weak intermolecular forces, it's easy to break them. And if it's easy to break them, that means that we're going to have low melting points and boiling points. And then vice versa, if we have strong intermolecular forces, it's going to be hard to break these apart. And thus, we're going to have high melting points and boiling points, right? So we can look at a molecule, and next up, we'll take a look at what these intermolecular forces are.